But you know what? Who Jonathan what really reminds me of?
Who?
In the Lego Movie, it's the good cop. He's like,
Oh
"Hey
my
guys,"
god.
you know? And then Flavio's
Yeah.
like the bad guy, the
Bad
bad
cop.
cop.
Liam Neeson, bad cop.
Yes, yeah. Ladies and gentlemen, it's the Cooldown Rundown with Sam and Ryan. Ryan, baby, it's that time of year. It's Netflix Drive to Survive season, just shortly before the season really kicks off in Formula One. And you and
Mhm.
I are going to kind of discuss our thoughts about the first 4 episodes. How you doing, bud?
Good, good. I love seeing the discourse every year about the good things that Drive to Survive can do, and then plenty of the bad things and how it
Yes.
tells the story, which unfortunately it's reality TV, and that's just the name of the game with reality TV. And I think some people have to remember that. So excited to go over these episodes with you and really take a deep dive into that.
Sure. And hey, just like regular reality TV, it's a little bit better with a beer in your hand. So I think there's only one way to really kick this off.
Damn right, brother.
Let's
Cheers.
do it. Oof.
I had plenty of those yesterday.
Tasty, tasty. So, Ryan, what is your first thoughts of the first 4 episodes? Now, I think we want to disclaim. Have you watched any more than the first 4?
No, I thought about it, but I wanted to just keep it with the first four, so I had it.
Mhm.
That is my fresh mindset,
Yeah.
and I'll watch the next four
I think that's
afterwards.
important because there might be some opinions I have this episode that might change depending on the next
Hmm.
4 go on. But as of right
Yeah.
now, what's your vibe so far this season?
I mean, I'm not. I like it. It
Mhm.
like I just said, I know what to expect now from Netflix when it comes to Drive to Survive. Like, and it's really cool being at this point. I saw a great meme about this the other day about it was the Kung Fu Panda meme of being introduced to Formula One through Drive to Survive, and you're like, it's like the little kid learning kung
Uh,
fu, and then now we're criticizing Netflix and Drive to Survive as vetted and seasoned Formula One fans who actually know the sport now. So
right.
I do love that aspect of it, and that's really funny when you watch some of these sequences. Specifically for me, and we'll get into it later, but Silverstone is a big one, and how they
Mhm.
kind of tell about Oscar's 10-second
Yeah.
penalty.
Mhm.
Um, we'll get into that later, but that's a big, very much like reality TV Netflix moment in my mind. But no, I enjoyed it. I thought it was pretty good. What about you?
So far, I'm gonna be honest, I'm a little disappointed with it
Oh.
because not because of any of the reasons of, like, the dramatization, even though I'm a little upset with one specific episode that we'll get into.
Mhm.
Um, but we talk about reality TV, and I think what happens with reality TV is that once it gets big, people start like reacting to the cameras a bit more, or we're not getting these like hot moments that we used to get. Um, like, I don't know, and maybe it's too because I'm a little bit more like my eyes more open to it, but like, "Hey, Lando, get your buddies and have dinner and have one of your friends ask you about what you think of Piastri." Like, it just seems a little more curated or more orchestrated kind of a thing to get the content. Whereas, like, in the past, we had, like, Kevin Magnussen slam Gunther Steiner's door. We had Gunther talking to, Gene Haas consistently. We get, like, all these, like, hot, or when Christian Horner is yelling with Toto Wolff in that drivers meeting. Like there's some behind the scenes stuff that I want to watch and see, and I feel like I'm not getting that quite nearly as much this season so far.
Well, I think that's a great point. And I have seen a lot of discourse from the F1 community about how they really do not like that about this season of Drive to Survive, and I
Mhm.
think in previous seasons too. But I don't think that is a Netflix Formula One issue. That's a reality TV issue in
I
itself
agree.
because yeah, because like I mean, I got you into Vanderpump Rules, buddy,
Yeah.
and
Oh, for sure.
the same thing happens there. Like these people don't know how to act with these cameras around all the time, so they're acting like complete jackasses, and then
Yes.
eventually they learn about it. It's the Kardashian vibe, you know. Like we
Yes.
are now at that point with Drive to Survive where these guys are rock stars. Everyone is, and they talk about that with I forget which episode it is, but they talk about the premiere of the F1 movie and
Yeah, I think it's the first one.
yeah, James Val's just being able to be on the street and like people know who he is. Or
Mhm.
um, Will Buxton talks about how there was a point in time where Lewis could walk down the street in New York, no one would know who he is, but
Yeah.
now everyone knows who Yuki Tsunoda is.
Yes.
So yeah, it's unfortunately we are at that point where it is curated content where they are having our drivers have these fake moments to talk about certain things, and
Mhm.
that definitely does not feel genuine. Unfortunately, that's just the name of the game.
It
So I
is.
don't know if we're just like we're hitting the plateau of Drive to Survive now. Maybe that might be the point, and we might just start seeing it slowly disappear over the next few years.
I think it's really interesting to see how Netflix handles it in the future because it's like, you're on season 8. So is Drive to Survive just going to be a recap of the last season with some like documentary style things? Because I think the peak of it was really like the first 3 seasons, but
Yeah.
you had some like major characters as well. You had Danny Rick, you had Steiner, you had Horner. Like you had a lot of very charismatic people to talk in front of the camera, and a lot of those people have gone away. But um,
Hmm.
it'll be interesting to see where they go. But I think there's still enough tidbits to like and enjoy in each episode. So you want to get into it a little bit, break it down?
Yeah, absolutely. Let's dive right in.
So the first episode was welcoming the rookies and opening up the season. They started off with that little behind the scenes of the F1 reveal, which I thought was kind of cool.
Yeah.
What was some of your memorable moments of that episode?
The first thing I have in my notes from that episode is Oscar and Lando just talking mad shit about
Yeah,
everyone at backstage. I was like, God damn, boys. A little
yeah,
feisty to get the season going. I thought that was pretty interesting. And I also just really loved Horner getting booed as much as he did.
yeah.
That was great. I knew that happened whenever I watched it live,
Sure.
but hearing it again really just speaks volume to how much the F1 community hates him. But those are some of my quick thoughts.
I think the when the live broadcast of that happened, Ryan, I think they like toned down the booze because F1 has an interest in not like show booze, but Netflix is like, tell me
Oh, yeah.
more, you know?
They're gonna feast on that shit, man.
Yeah. When they got to the track in Australia, because I knew now, mind you, I'm watching all these episodes with Sarah, so she's like, she vaguely remembers some things that happened, but not enough. So it was nice to have that separate pair of eyes, get her viewpoint on it. And we're watching Australia, right? And it's just raining. And she's like, Jesus, that looks intense out there. And one of my favorite moments is Albon talking on the driver's parade route. And he's just like, this is horrible. Someone's gonna die out here. This is gonna be like
Yep.
bad. And there's like 6 rookies that are like looking at him like, like they all. It was just this moment of Albon just like, "Welcome to the suck, boys."
Do you think actually that's why, Isaac crashed in the formation lap?
He got in his
He
head.
was too scared, and he was just like, "Maybe I should just biff it so I don't have to race in this shit."
Dude, that one was a good moment for me. I thought too. I had two Lewis moments that I thought were good. This one, Lewis chit chatting with Max. I think at
Mhm.
the F1 premiere or it was behind the
Yeah.
scenes. I thought that was fun. I was like, I think it just showed. Usually we don't see that kind of brevity between those two guys, so it's just kind of nice. And then it was also in Australia. Lewis talking to Signs, and I'm like, oh yeah, Lewis just took Signs' fucking seat in Ferrari. And, he's like, "Hey, how you getting used to the new team?" He's like, "Well, I've done it 5 times. It happens quite a bit." And Lewis is like, "Jesus."
Someone's a little salty still, but
Yeah,
rightfully
yeah.
so, I think.
I think, by the end of the season, I think Sainz is A-okay with what happened.
Yeah, for sure. But that brings up a great point. I think early on in the first episode, I think a focal point of this season is going to be Lewis going to Ferrari and his
Yeah.
struggles. I definitely think we haven't really seen that much since episode 1.
Mhm.
But I imagine in the back half of this season, we're going to see a lot more of that. And I bet you there's
Yes.
going to be like some side by side comparisons of his struggles compared
With
to
Williams.
Signs' wins.
I took a quick
Or
sneak peek. Sainz's wins? His, podiums, you mean?
yeah.
Yeah. I took a sneak peek at what, like, the next 4 episodes are, and, I believe one of them is a Ferrari episode and one of them is a Williams episode, possibly they're
Hmm.
combined, and then we have, like, 2 season finale episodes, like Vegas and Abu Dhabi, so I think you're right on the money that we're gonna get that.
Yeah. Otherwise, I think it was introductory. It was nice just to get a vibe for the new
I
rookies and all
yeah.
that.
I
Um,
I think
yeah,
you nail on the head. Just an introductory episode because, like, I feel like we didn't get too much, and honestly, I could have done with some more rookies, to be honest, for that episode. So it's fine. It is what it is.
true. But
But
there was something that was really cool about this episode, and for basically, I think almost every episode so far was some of our favorite creators, Sam,
yeah.
being
Oh, dude,
featured
love
on
seeing them.
Netflix. Matt
Yes.
and Tommy, they got to
Yeah.
be on the show multiple times, and that is so cool for them. I'm so happy for them.
You
Hopefully,
mean
we can
our
get there someday.
You mean our, colleagues over at the, one of the biggest
Right.
F1 podcasts over there, P1 with Matt and Tommy. I've been watching them for quite some time. I know you are too. I've been there since they started their actual business, and the fact that they're being prominent, like, they are, like, one of the fans, of the sport that get FaceTime. So it was cool to see them, and I actually wanna pick up on that a little bit here when we get into the episode too. But I agree.
Yep.
I was like, "That's fucking that's Tommy right there." And then Matt got in a little bit too. So I thought that was a cool shout out for the F1 nerd fandom in the know. Good call. Good call.
So yeah, that brings us into episode 2, Sam, and I'm very curious to hear your thoughts about this one. I think episode 2 might have been one of my favorites so far, so
You
I'm
beat me
really
to it.
curious to see your vibe.
You beat
Oh,
me to
okay.
it. Episode 2 is, I think, my favorite out of these 4. Um, it was cool because we got to see Flavio, and then we got to see, Jonathan Wheatley. uh, you
Yes.
know, being and like I knew of Flavio, and honestly, I should have known more of Jonathan Wheatley because he used to be the Red Bull technical director. But to see Jonathan Wheatley be like the nicest guy there is,
Right?
and like really supportive, and then Flavio being the next biggest dick on the grid, man. Um,
Well, I think truly Flavio and Horner are cut from the same cloth and how they kinda handle their teams and their drivers. It
yeah,
feels very the same to me.
yeah,
There's some differences, sure, but like I think they just treat it Formula One as a cutthroat sport. And I put in my notes here. I think Jonathan might be one of my new favorite team principals because I just really
I
like the
agree.
culture that he is building. And I love
I
how he's
agree.
just trying to support not only Nico in like the twilight of his career, but helping Gabrielle really try to
Mhm.
find himself and make a name for himself in the sport as a rookie and one of the lower name rookies, which we can go on and on about the politics involved with that. But yeah,
Yeah,
I really love the culture he is building there at now Audi, but
yeah.
last season at Kicks Albert.
Honestly, I had not much to like. I'm not very invested in Audi, but like you got me a Jonathan Wheatley fan, out of all that. You know who
Hmm.
he reminded me of? I could not put my finger on it until just the other day. But you know who Jonathan Wheatley reminds me of?
Who?
In the Lego movie, it's the good cop. He's like,
Oh
"Hey
my
guys,"
god.
you know? And then Flavio's
Yeah.
like the bad guy, the
Bad
bad
cop.
cop.
Liam Neeson, bad cop.
Yes, yeah.
That's a
And
good
then,
comparison,
Wheatley's
honestly.
just I could not I was like, his voice is like it was nagging at me, and I'll tell you what, Ryan, we have a new 007 villain, because that's Flavio. Once we got a look inside of his apartment, and we
Oh,
saw
dude, the
the the
ego, the
the ego
narcissism.
the pictures, the gold statue, the way he treats everybody, that is a James Bond villain cut from the same cloth of Toto Wolff. I agree. He is, yeah,
Toto,
cool.
come on now. No, no.
Toto Wolff is like I said that all last season. He's kind of like the mastermind, kind of, kind of vibe. Not, not horrible, but
Yeah. I think his mentality just is like I think Horner emulated Flavio in building his team for the past 20 years. And now Flavio is
yeah,
back and he's just like, get the fuck out of the way, boy. I do love his one comment at the end of the episode about if Alpine is last again in 26, he'll find a new job. I want to see what he does this season if he ends up being
yeah,
last again.
yeah.
That would be very interesting. Um, Try to see if there's anything else. Oh, also, just being able to see Hulk get his podium at
Mhm.
Silverstone was really cool. We talked about that so much last season when it actually happened, so it was just really cool reliving that for him again. That was awesome.
Something that really surprised me with episode 2 of this, Ryan, is I remember because watching the episodes, it jogged my memory of what happened. I'm like, oh fuck yeah, Duhan got fired early on, and I remember there was rumors all the way back in Australia that he only had 6 races.
Mhm.
Everybody knew. And I think the part that surprised me the most is that when he was let go, it hit him, and he's like, "I didn't want to believe it. I thought they were wrong." So everybody knew, you and I knew, quote
Yeah.
unquote, that Duhan was on a limited contract. Like, he must have known he was on a limited contract, but to lose his seat, you know, and then this moment of like you're working your whole life for your dream job, you get it, and it is a nightmare. I thought that was actually a really intense moment, and it was something I thought I was completely flabbergasted by that Duhan was caught off guard from his departure.
Well, I just think he was just like I think you already just stated that too. Just an act of denial. Because I mean, like you
Yeah,
just said, if you are chasing the dream to be in Formula One full time, you don't want to believe the rumors at all. You want to fake it till you make it. So I don't
yeah.
fault him, but you had to have some idea that it was coming.
I'll tell you what. You know who else knew? Netflix knew because they were filming. Who replaced him?
Oh, Franco.
Yep, Carl Pinto. I'll tell you what, because Netflix definitely knew because they filmed Franco when he was the reserve driver and literally had him listed as Alpine reserve driver because they knew his ass was going to be in that seat later on. They knew that was a story they were going to cover. So like I was like, I picked that immediately. And the fact that Duhan didn't know, you know, so
Yeah.
kind of a heartbreaker.
Hate to see it, man. Hate to see it.
But we got a nice episode out of, Wheatley. I'll keep wanting to say Mike Crack, and that's completely wrong. That's the only one I want. Oh, it's they keep coming out. I think it's that, it's just don't say it, don't say it, don't say it, and I'm like, "Mike Crack, Mike
Mhm.
Crack." But yeah, we got introduced to Jonathan Wheatley. We got to see, Flavio be an absolute asshole to his drivers, and, yeah, I thought it was a solid I did think it was a solid episode out of the 4.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And I'm excited to just see more of Wheatley this season and just kind of I've already seen some of his interviews and I've liked what he's been doing especially with Bahrain testing for Audi. I thought he had some really interesting quotes, but I really wasn't paying much mind to him. But now after this episode, I think I'm going to be paying a lot more attention to him. So,
Mhm.
yeah, I'm excited to see where that team goes.
Episode 3, Ryan, Drive to Survive. What was your thoughts on it? I think I have the most to say about it. A little, not maybe not the most, but I have a little bit to say about it.
All right, I have a lot here, Sam.
There we go.
Okay.
I think the title of the episode, "Poor Little Lando."
The first note I had is no wonder I hate Zach so much. He's coached by Novak Djokovic in tennis, who I
Okay.
also hate.
Yeah, okay. I
When
thought
I
that was
saw
somebody.
that, I was just like, great. No wonder the ego is through the roof with this guy. So that right off the rip, I was already annoyed.
Yeah.
I think it was a good episode. Um, and what I mean by that is I think it was already showing the hypocrisy within the McLaren camp. And uh oh my god, there's just so much here to talk about. One moment. Um like him saying that we want them to fight on track, which you could say that to a certain point in the
Mhm.
season, sure. But as we learn in the later half of the season, and I imagine we're going to see in a subsequent episode, a complete tonal shift within the McLaren camp and how they're going to handle the papaya rules. Um, so very excited to see how that turns out. The whole reliving it again and just seeing like Canada, for example,
Yes.
when Lando crashes into Oscar, that should have been the nail in the coffin on Lando's title fight, in my opinion. Like reliving that again and seeing that,
Yeah,
I think the team at that point should have just been like, it's Oscar's to lose now at this point. You
sure.
gotta fall in line. And just seeing that shift and them not do that was just so mind blowing to me, man. So mind blowing. But those are some of my quick thoughts. I have more, but I want to hear yours
Sure, yeah.
too.
My quick thoughts is I think we kinda get into the Netflix drama of being like I think they're getting interview clips of people talking about the favoritism, right? But Netflix is painting it that it's in the favoritism of Piastri. When I think the general consensus is that McLaren is way more favorable to Lando, but this entire episode was like, Oscar's the guy, and Lando's on the outs. And like it's rough, it's hard because at the time in Canada, yes, ish, but the way it really does play out later on is that, I feel like Zach took Oscar Piastri out for one day to go racing and have dinner with him. And that was the day that he, like, showed the lawyers that he's, like, a good father for the joint custody battle. Like, he's like, "I took him out, we have fun," Like, that was his proof of the pudding, knowing in fact that he, like, golfs with Lando every other weekend. And my favorite part was seeing Zach Brown walk out in his, race suit, and he's snugly fit in it. And the only thing I could think of is like, "Hello, fellow youths, I'm one of you." So, it was interesting. Oh, right, we forgot to mention, we got Nico Rosberg on the episode,
I know,
and I
I
was so
know.
happy it was Nico and not Danica Patrick. I swear to God, man, I was so relieved.
Oh, man. No, that was a very nice touch that they had Rosberg in there to really talk about the dynamics of
Yeah,
having
of
2 number 1
teammates.
drivers
Mhm.
because, like, we referenced that so many
We
times
did.
last season, so to have the guy in the interview
Himself.
booth to talk about it was really cool. But
Which
I Go ahead.
Well, I was gonna say, which is kind of like a non-story because it's something that everybody hyped up that we didn't really get. Like you
I
and I
agree.
hyped it up and we never got it. Netflix is hyping it up and never really got it. Like I think this is the most Netflix is scraping the barrel for drama's sake or trying to present drama when it's actually not there a little bit.
Well, I wanna challenge you on one thing you said. I don't think this episode was Netflix trying to paint the picture that McLaren was favoring Oscar.
Mhm.
I think, especially at that point in the season, Sam, if you gotta remember, Oscar was cooking. He
Sure.
was winning races like crazy. Lando looked like shit. And there I think that was the whole vibe of everyone. And at that point in time, McLaren was still toting the line of we're just gonna let them play fair, all of this stuff. And I think Netflix is building this to show that the philosophy of the papaya rules is going to drastically change in the back half
Yeah.
of this season. That's how I feel is what they're trying to show.
Yeah.
Um, because like I like you said, like he took Oscar out and did all those things, and we're going to see the favoritism towards Lando later on.
Yeah.
But I think right now, like you and I thought it was over. Everyone thought it was Oscars to lose. And it wasn't until Silverstone when the 10-second penalty happened and then Lando won that race when things started to change. And then we come out of summer break, and then there's these other idiosyncrasies and just slight changes to the rule book. And then we get into Singapore, and I cannot wait until Singapore is covered by the show and we talk about
If
the collision
yeah.
there.
Hopefully they do. I will say, I think you're right. I don't think I think the show was just being a little building it up a little bit because I do think you're right that McLaren at that time was very hands off still. Like, and all the favoritism that you and I perceive that McLaren had was a little bit more low key, behind the scenes, smaller,
Mhm.
moving in the shadows kind of a thing. So yeah, I agree that it wasn't like egregious and that McLaren was a little bit more neutral about it. It was just funny that the way it was presented was like they are favoritism to Oscar, which I never got that vibe at
Yeah,
all
I agree with
during the
that.
actual season.
Yeah,
Um,
uh,
but yeah,
that makes sense.
this is the moment where I will say that jury is out to see what they do with the rest of the season. I really hope they cover Singapore. I do know that the last 2 episodes is Vegas and Abu Dhabi. And
Yeah.
so like I don't know how much they will. I really because I hope they cover Singapore. I hope they cover Texas and I hope they cover Monza. Because there's a
Mhm.
line that we're talking about this 10-second penalty where Oscar Piastri comes on the radio and says, "Hey, if you think it's really unfair, maybe we should swap." And you know what Zach Brown said? Well, we can't play God.
I had that quoted here too.
You can't play God, but you can make you can make Oscar slow down and let Lando pass a Monza because you guys screwed up on the pit stop. Like that's playing God. Like
Yep.
I wrote that down immediately, man. I hope they cover that shit later on. I really do. So the jury's
I
out for me for later on.
I at least how I feel Netflix is building this up, I definitely think we are going to see a full episode of just the stark difference in McLaren later in the back half of the season. I really do.
Gotcha.
And for the people that don't know about Singapore and what happened there, it was in the opening lap and it was like turn 3, I think.
Yeah, 1
Um
of 3. Early.
yeah,
First lap.
Lando just basically bumps into the side of Oscar and is like, "I'm just gonna scooch past here, don't mind
Mhm.
me." And but he just like fucks him over and
Gets a
takes the
pass.
lead of the race, right? And um Oscar's like, "Hey, he hit me. He broke the rules. We need to swap." And they're like, "Saweeb, our hands are
Yeah,
tied. You guys got to fight it out."
yeah.
And
There'll be
yeah, I
consequences for Lando, and nobody knew what the consequences were. There'd be consequences. And then Oscar hit Lando tangentially in the Austin sprint, and then the board is wiped clean. So nobody knew what the consequences were there at all. I agree.
the
I
co-
really hope we see what that is.
yeah,
Or
the
was.
consequences were Lando, you get to be world champion.
Yeah, dude, straight up.
Yeah,
Consequences are, Piastri, you're gonna lose all your fucking mojo in the last third of the season.
I really do hope we get to just see
I
what
Yeah,
happened behind the scenes because
yeah,
I want to understand what happened. Was
yeah,
it him? Was it a factor with the team? Was it
sure.
something else? Are they
Yeah,
just like fucking over the car or something? Like
yep.
what happened?
What I
Netflix,
would like
please
that's
show me.
yeah.
So yeah, the only other thing that I wanted to briefly touch on, and this goes into what we were originally talking about at the beginning of the episode about the reality TV esque and how they like to dramatize certain moments. And the
Mhm,
most Drive to Survive moment of this season so far for me was when Oscar got that 10-second penalty at Silverstone. For the people who don't know, it was a safety car, and Oscar was leading the race, and safety car was in this lap, and all of a sudden he just decides to brake check the entire grid. Max
mhm,
almost hits him and has to
mhm.
kind of bail out.
Yep.
And the restart happens, Max spins out,
Mhm,
and it was a couple laps later that he finally gets the 10-second penalty.
mhm.
But Netflix sequences the entire events to make you think that he brake checks, gets the
And Max
penalty, and then Max spins out all before the restart in the final third in sector 3. And I
Yeah,
thought that was very rich in how they did that.
yeah.
Yeah. So that is definitely the reality TV editing at its finest for me.
My last comment for this episode, Ryan, is how much Toto loves Kimmy. How much he loves his little Italian boyfriend and just wants to show him off to the whole world. He did that a little bit in episode 1, and the moment that I thought was super funny in this episode that happened was at the Silverstone Grand Prix. Toto comes out and the presenter goes, "What's it like, presenting for George at his home race?" And he goes, "George is great. And we're here in England, just but like, who's here for Kimmy?" And they were like,
Yep.
"Ah!" I'm like, can you not give George his love? All he does is want to please you. And here you are with little Kimmy Antonelli. I just thought that was super, super funny.
Toto, he's an interesting guy. I don't agree that he's a villain. I don't agree he's a villain, but he's an interesting guy.
He's an interesting guy. He's an interesting. He's yeah. You can love to hate the certain villain. He's the villain in somebody's book.
The
he
villain in your book.
he's villain turned lover, because as we
Mm,
see in the next episode, in episode 4,
oh yeah.
with that text exchange between him and Christian Horner, I was legit like, oh,
I
I'm
was
their
too.
boys.
I put that in there. But
Yeah,
okay,
let's get
speaking of
into it.
episode 4,
Yeah,
Sam, I am so elated with joy because I
I'm
no
I'm glad.
longer have to deal with Christian Horner being a fucking dickhead in these interviews.
Mm.
I Seeing him gone from Red Bull was the best thing that could have ever happened for me to want to actually enjoy Red Bull as a team. So you should be happy about this, honestly.
Mixed feelings. I'm glad to hear you say that. I'm glad to get you on the Red Bull hype train. But
Hey,
we did
yo.
lose one of the best antagonists of Drive to Survive. And I think it's gonna hurt Netflix in the long run, but I think you do have a solid point. I thought it was interesting. I thought it was an interesting episode to show the whole shebang of it and to give a certain side of the story and to get some highlights into it and to give, Horner his like send off to the show.
Yeah,
know?
I do think it was very it was a good touch that they gave him his send off. I do like how he shared his text exchange with Toto. I thought
Yeah.
that was really sweet of Toto to say that too.
Yeah.
Especially because like those two just fucking hated each
Went at
other.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, you know, they were great at just being mortal enemies. But when it comes
Yep.
down to it, like you respect each other.
Mhm.
But I really did appreciate this episode because I think it really encapsulates everything that I have hated about the Red Bull team up until
Mhm.
this point when Lauren Mekes took over.
Yep.
And I part of that is, and we have always disagreed about this, is how they handle driver situations and giving them enough time to fully prosper and to develop, I think. Um, and I mean, we talked about it last year and how crazy it was that Liam was kicked out of the Red Bull seat after 2 races,
Yep.
and then Yuki was in there, and Yuki had a horrible time too,
Yep.
and everyone is blaming these drivers when it's
Yep.
also a car issue too, and I just really appreciate that this episode really just highlighted that not malpractice, but just, the direction that the
The
team has as a
short-sightedness
culture.
of it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, instead of looking holistically at the picture, they victim blame the least experienced people,
Yes.
and we're trying to do just put some Flex Seal on it, and hopefully
Yeah.
it'll work, right? You know? So, I thought that was really good for Netflix to show that.
I wish they just went a little bit more into it. I don't know if Christian really skirted the line of he had a really quick segment of he said, "I felt pressured to promote our Red Bull drivers." That's what he said. So if I don't know if that
Yes.
was from the outside, whoever did that, whose decisions that really was, like, it wasn't really touched on too much. Another thing is, because I was watching this with, Sarah, so we're watching it with her eyes, and she's trying to, get it all. She's like, "Oh my god, the politics, the politics." 'Cause she's
Mhm.
like, "What happened to Yuki? Why is he? Where's he at next year?" I'm like, "He's gone. Honda money's gone. He's gone with that money." She's like, "Oh my god, like, that's crazy." And something that I wish they kinda would have shown is because they presented that like, "Oh, Yuki's gonna drive in Japan, and he better do good." And I think he got 16th, or he got not great.
It was
And they're
not
like
good.
and they're like, "Ooh," I'm like, "Dude, he was just driving a different car in China the
A
week
better
before."
car.
He was driving a better car at most 14 days ago, and he did not have the preseason prep time. Like, I wish they would have delved into that a little bit more about the
Mhm.
situation. But I do think something that a very small moment that happened was that Helmet was giving interviews to people, and this is back when I was like doing a lot of research for these stories. Helmet doing interviews was huge. Jos Verstappen talking to the news was huge because it made everybody ask questions. And
Yes.
we saw an actual this is the moment that I wish we got more of just in general with Drive to Survive, is that on camera moment where somebody talks to Christian Horner, they're like, Marco's running his mouth with the press, and he's like, "God damn it!" He knew, we knew that meant something to him. That gave me confirmation that the interviews do matter. Those were political games. That's not just some old man spouting off into the microphone just to get some
No.
press time. No, that's calculating. And the fact that they get into the press conference and they ask Max, "Hey, where are you driving next year?" He's like, I don't really, I'm just driving, not my problem." I kind of part of me thinks the Verstappen media team might be geniuses to let Max just not say anything and let his actions speak louder than words, and let Jos Verstappen and let Papa Helmut Marko, who is no longer there, do all the behind the scenes media stuff. Like, that is some James Bond evil bad guy villain shit moving in the
Oh,
shadows. I thought
absolutely,
that
man.
was the interesting part of this episode. So I feel like this is the most behind the scenes speculations that we kind of got the whole
For
season.
sure, for sure. And I do wish they dove into it more.
Yeah.
Um, Another aspect too, and I'm going back to the driver situation and like
Okay.
swapping. I thought this was very rich. Was so in this episode, we see Horner shit talk Liam basically,
Mhm.
and then gas up Yuki when he gets the promotion, right?
Mhm.
In Suzuka. Let alone 4 months prior, and also in the previous season, in season 7, Horner is gassing up the promotion of Liam to Red
Yeah.
Bull. And
Yeah.
so it's just like, come on, dude. Like, don't be so fucking fake. I know you have to like rep these guys, but like as soon as they're not performing, you toss them like trash. And I thought this was very poetic. This was poetic justice in my mind, was when he said to his wife after he got sacked by Red Bull, something precious to me has been taken away. And it's just like, welcome to the life of the
Yeah,
graveyard of drivers that you have treated like shit over the past 20 years, my guy.
and
Karma's a bitch.
yeah, and you know what? I think, I think, because he had those sexual allegations that happened last year that really put him on the
Hmm.
hot seat for a moment,
Which
and
that should have also just gotten rid of
yeah,
him way back then. Let's
for
just
sure.
put that out there. But
Yeah, so, but here's we were talking about that, it's like, well, yeah, you can be an asshole as long as you're winning, you know? So the moment that you're not, and the moment, because a lot of this was talking about Max's exit clause, and if you don't have a good car and you're not, because your team both and the car needs to be good, so you need both drivers scoring. And like he was it was a predicament. And the moment that there was an opening for him to be dismissed, they took it. And so
mhm.
there he goes. Uh,
I do appreciate too how he talked about the leadership of Red Bull changing and how that
yes,
definitely
yes,
was a huge point. And we
yeah,
talked about that too. I know you were very much following the politics of Red Bull when that
mhm,
was all developing, and it was nice to kind of get um, validation from
yeah,
what we knew behind the scenes, but him confirming that was also a nice touch. I thought I did
yes,
appreciate that.
yeah.
Um, and then there was one more thing that I wanted to talk about when it came to this. Where is it?
I'll tell you quickly. My last thing that I thought was interesting about it was when they interviewed Liam on his way out. They said, "Was Max upset about you leaving?" And he's like,
Oh,
"Yes."
yeah.
I thought that was interesting because I think I knew that, but it was nice to get a firsthand confirmation that Max was upset. I think Max is very protective of rookies in general, and the fact that like that was one of the things he had a problem with this whole thing is that they're just swapping people out left and right, and yeah, they just kicked Liam to the curb after 2 races. I knew he was, and to get that confirmation from my king was nice to know that he has a heart.
Well, okay, here I'm glad you said this because it reminded me. You know what was annoying about this episode? My one critique, and
So
this is not a Netflix thing, I don't think. We didn't see Max in any of the interviews for this episode
you
at
don't do it.
all. Well, he did it, I don't know if it was last season or the season before, he started actually opening
You
up
did it
more to
one, yeah.
Netflix again, and I don't know, especially with this being such a huge moment, I would have liked to have heard something from the guy.
I agree.
So that is something that I'm a little peeved at Max about, like, "Come on, say something." But then again, we also haven't heard from Lewis or anyone else yet, but that might happen in subsequent episodes.
I think we will, but it's one of those things that like it's just not on Max's radar at all. Like he just does not care. He doesn't like how Drive to Survive runs the business, or the way that they present certain, sections of how things happen when how they, indulge certain aspects. And
Yeah.
like honestly, like I agree. I would love to get more insight on the guy, to get like in-depth interviews, but for a guy who does not give a fuck and he has 4 championships to basically back him not giving a fuck, like I kind of respect it. Like I'm not going to indulge at all, because I think a
Yeah.
lot of these other drivers kind of do indulge because it helps their brand and their brand,
Oh, for
to get
sure.
out there and to get recognition and get fame, and it's just not on his cards.
Yeah. The other thing I want to say, I really appreciated how they talked about the whole, rumor mill during silly season about is Max going to Mercedes? And
Yeah,
then
yeah.
they had George talk about it and he was like, I think it was more Toto trying to really more fuck with Red Bull. I don't know if that's really what it was, and that's just him like covering his tracks because we've talked about that plenty. But I did
Yeah.
appreciate getting that insight from George because I was wondering what was going on through his mind and whether that was a PR answer or not. I'm glad to have had something.
I'm really of 2 minds of that, Ryan, because I literally talked to Sarah about it when it happened. I was like, "I don't know." I was like, "I don't know if in that context, the way they asked him that, is George just repeating what everybody else is saying? Or does George have a little bit of insight on Total Wolf? Or is George covering his own tracks? Because guess what? If Max would have came over, guess whose seats that is? Like
Yep.
it's good politics for George to believe, or for George to make everybody else believe that Toto was just playing games.
Yes.
What did Toto like? That I think it's a big question that we'll never get an answer to. I thought it was very interesting that he said it, but I just don't know in what context. Was he repeating what everybody else said? Was he repeating what Toto Wolff said to him? Is he repeating what he thinks Toto Wolff was doing? Like I wish I knew a little bit more context for it,
I
for
do
that answer.
too. If I was to give my quick thought on of those 3,
Yeah,
it felt like it was the last one you said, where he was taking the context clues and just formulating his own opinion about the
yeah,
situation. I definitely do not think Toto would have given George the insider information about being like, "Hey, I'm gonna do this to fuck with Red
yeah.
Bull. Don't worry about it." Because we know Toto.
You're
Toto's gonna
my
do what's
boo.
best. Yeah,
Oh
Toto's
yeah,
gonna do whatever the fuck he needs to do. And
yeah.
if he would have gotten Max somehow, I think I think Toto came into this with the intention of just fucking Red Bull over and just trying to cause a media nightmare storm for them. But if Max would have been like, "Yeah, I'll join you," I think he would have been like, "Here's a blank check, sir."
See, I think it's backwards. I think the same result happens. Hey, we have an opportunity to get Max. We'll write a blank check for him. We have a good opportunity, and if it doesn't work out, it causes a shitstorm in Red Bull. Like it's a win-win kind of a situation for
Yeah.
Mercedes. So like either way, it worked for him, and that's a good business deal for him. I think so.
It worked so well, he got that man fired. Not really, but
Yeah, I mean,
he stirred the pot for sure.
it stirred the pot. All right, he let the pot. He left the room to let the pot be stirred. You know, like he made the
Yeah,
conditions happen. Um,
absolutely. I remember last thing about this, I remember everyone on Twitter just blowing up when, Max and Toto were, in the same city and they
yeah,
met at one point, like, everyone was like, "Oh, the deal is done. It's happening. He's going to Mercedes." That was a great day on the internet. So, I would love to know what was happening behind the scenes with all these conversations, you know?
agreed.
Fortunately, that's something we'll never get.
Agreed. I think Netflix just need to get more mics in there in general, keep everybody mic'd up, run GoPros, get all the behind the scene goodness, and really, really get us into the delveness, you know. But
I will say, you know who never has issues with microphones, and that's fucking Netflix,
I
unlike the
dude,
cooldown rooms,
dude,
right?
yeah. They can get
They get it
anywhere in
done
there, man.
right.
They get it done right, baby.
Sky Sports, get your shit together.
Well, Ryan, that wraps us up for the 4 episodes. We only got 4 more. I'm sure we'll get them out. So at some point, and we'll get them out into our viewers. I'm excited. I'm hoping the next 4 are add a little bit more sauce for us. But I'm just curious to see where we go from here.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what they have cooking up. I can't wait to see the dramatification of certain things, and just to see the story they tell to everyone. So yeah, excited to talk about it more with you soon. And we are so close to lights out in Melbourne, man. I cannot wait.
Hell yeah, man. I can't wait. I'll talk to you then.